This time I'll call the meeting of the Marshall City Council to order with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first item of business that we'll have this evening is the administration of the oath of office. I'll ask Stephen Anderson to, who is our city clerk, to administer the oath of office to the newly elected officials, which includes Amanda Schwartz, Amanda Schroeder, and myself. Councilmember Lazinski is not present this evening. He previously had his oath of office.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll have you three please stand up. Please raise your right hand. On three, I'll have you both, or all three of you, start reading the script. So 1, 2,
Can you give
3.
us a script?
Oh, did it go up? Right there.
I did not memorize this. No, I didn't memorize it.
His opening items too.
Thank you.
Let's try that again. On 1, 2, 3.
I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States and of this state, and to discharge faithfully the duties devolving upon me as council member
of the city of Marshall to the best of my judgment and ability.
Congratulations to you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. So at this time, we'll have another ceremonial thing, and we'll talk about the Mayor for the Day program. So I'll ask Jasmine DeSmet, who's from Community Education, who worked with this program, and also Micah, who was the honoree, the winner of the Mayor for the Day contest. So go ahead.
Okay, thank you, and we want to welcome Micah and his family who are here today. This is a contest that is through the League of Minnesota Cities, and it was open to 4th, 5th, and 6th graders in the Marshall schools, and they were given the opportunity to write an essay on what they would do if they were mayor for a day. So Micah was the one that wrote an essay that was selected to be our winner, and he gets a certificate establishing him as the mayor for a day, and he also gets a pool pass for the summer, and there's some fun trinkets in there and some candy as well, so we're happy he's here.
So here's the certificate, Micah. A certificate of achievement is presented to Micah Thor in recognition of being selected as the winner of the 2024 Mayor for a Day essay contest. Congratulations, Micah. I'll let you read your essay.
If I were mayor for a day, I would create community sports teams in which people can socialize with peers. And I would give money to plow streets in the winter because winters in Minnesota are crazy. I would spend more money on giving school supplies to people who can't pay for them. I'd create indoor public hot spots in which kids with a student ID have a free pass. I would also try to socialize with my peers and listen to their ideas because I can't be the only one with ideas. I would take this job because I would become mayor for the people, not the money. That is why I would do if I were mayor for a day. Just imagine what I could do if it was my real job.
That's awesome.
Can you guys turn around and face together? There you go.
So we'll move then to agenda item number 3. The rest of the meeting probably isn't going to be nearly as exciting or interesting as this. Agenda item number 3 is consider the approval of the minutes from the meeting that was held on December 17, 2024. The council does have the minutes of that meeting. Are there any corrections?
Move approval.
I'll second.
Motion by Craig, second by Councilmember Schroeder. We'll move to a vote. And we'll close the voting.
You got it.
And the motion does pass.
Good job.
We'll move then to agenda item number 4, and this is a public hearing. There's a public hearing on the proposed project on South Hill, South Minnesota, and Charles Avenue reconstruction. So we'll have a public hearing. Following the public hearing, we will consider the resolution ordering the improvement of the plans, as well as the resolution approving the plans and specifications and ordering the advertisement for the bids. And when we get to that point, we'll note that that does take a 4/5 vote of the total number of council members. So in the case of that we have one absent, it will require a unanimous vote. But first off will be the public hearing, and I'll call on Jason Anderson, City Engineer, Director of Public Works, to conduct this public hearing.
Thank you, Mayor. This is a proposed reconstruction for South Hill Street, South Minnesota, and Charles Avenue around the hospital. Similar to the Whitney project last year, it's maintaining the center island space, but a complete reconstruction of the water, sanitary sewer, and drainage pipes in this area. This area is generally marked by low, small diameter water main and old pipe that we'd like to get replaced. We did have a public informational meeting with all the property owners that'd be affected by this project, and that was held on November 21st in the council chambers. We've also notified all property owners of this hearing in accordance with state statute. So we do have the plans and specifications prepared for this project, and we are ready to go. I will also note that the 2 alleys identified in that drawing are also proposed to be reconstructed and replaced with a concrete surfacing. The reason for the alleys being brought into the project is those homes are all served water out of the alley. So we were already going to be disturbing pretty much the entire alley. So it makes sense to reconstruct it as opposed to try to patch it. The construction cost estimate, including engineering fees and allowance for contingency, is $1,463,100. We would propose to special assess according to our current policy, as well as participation on the project from Marshall Municipal Utilities, the wastewater fund, and the surface water management utility. If there are any questions, I can help address them, but we do have 2 resolutions for your consideration in the packet.
So is there anyone here this evening that wishes to speak as part of this public hearing? Any member of the council have input as part of the public hearing?
Mr. Mayor, I just think a couple things just to clarify, and we've talked about this before at PI&T also, but the connects where the streets go out to East College Drive are actually, the project is set a fair ways back from East College Drive, and that's due to the MnDOT project that's coming forward. Those elevations and roadways will be brought in to match that from our project to their project. It's one of the other reasons I think why we promote or really want to push the timing on this is to get our project done ahead of the MnDOT project so that we have good project alignment.
There was a property owner that was here prior to the meeting that had a question about the road surfacing. And just to reiterate, the road surface is proposed to be bituminous, whereas the alley would be concrete.
Correct.
And then that's another conversation also, just to kind of touch this as this conversation will come up again in the future for other alleys, is that the PI&T has discussed and are in agreement that as the city participates in alley projects, one of the considerations is going to be that we're going to require concrete for ease of maintenance and longevity for the alleys, being as that they're narrow. It gives us a better surface and a longer life on the construction and the use of the alley, especially being as that most of the alleys are used for garbage pickup and other heavier truck traffic. It just makes more sense.
Okay, any other input from the council as part of the public hearing or from the audience? If not, I'd entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So move.
Motion by Craig, seconded by John. Discussion? If not, we'll move to a vote. We'll close the voting. And the motion passes. So we have two items to consider. The first would be the resolution ordering the improvement and the preparation of plans. Are there any questions about that resolution? If not, is there a motion?
So move.
Motion by John, seconded by C. Discussion? If not, we'll move to a vote. And we'll close the voting. And we'll note that that does pass unanimously of the members here. And then the third item would be the resolution that would approve the plans and specifications and ordering the advertisement for the bids.
I move the resolution.
Second.
Motion by Craig, seconded by Councilmember Schroeder. Discussion? If not, we'll move to a vote. Close the voting. And the motion does pass unanimously. Thank you, Jason. We'll move then to the next item would be the consent agenda. We have the items up on the screen that are on the consent agenda. And they include consider the resolution designating the official newspaper, consider the resolution designating the official depositories for city funds for 2025, consider the resolution delegating authority to the city to make electronic funds transfer, the adoption of the annual election to set the micro purchase threshold of $25,000, the renewal of the unlicensed maintenance electrical inspection agreement for 2025-2026, consider the approval to change the regular meeting date in November, consider the approval for a raffle permit for Holy Redeemer Church on February 3rd, 2025, consider the approval of temporary liquor license for SMSU Foundation for February 8th, 2025, consider the mayoral appointments for council members to boards, commissions, and committees, and then finally consider the approval of the bills and the project payments. Is there any member or any item on the consent agenda that any member of the council wants removed for separate discussion?
I move approval of the consent agenda.
Motion by Craig, seconded by John. Discussion? The only discussion item I would have is there's kind of a long list of annual things, included annual things that we have to do every year that's required by our charter.
Yep.
Any other discussion? If not, we'll move to a vote. And we'll close the voting. And the motion does pass. Okay, so agenda item number 15, selection of the city council president pro tem by the city council. So this is the choice of the city council to nominate, and then we'll, by motion, we will appoint a person who will serve as the mayor if I become incapacitated or can no longer serve or am absent. So I'd open up for any nominations for president pro tem.
I'd like to nominate Craig.
Pardon me?
Nominate Craig Schieffer.
And nominations don't take a second, so C has nominated Craig. Are there any other nominations? And I need to say that two more times. Are there any other nominations? Are there any other nominations? If not, then I would entertain a motion to close the nominations for President Pro Tem and cast a unanimous ballot for Craig Schaefer.
I'll make a motion to close.
Second.
Motion by Amanda Schroeder, seconded by John. Discussion? If not, we'll move to a vote. Do we do this electronically, or can we do this by, do you have this set up electronically? Okay, we'll move to a vote. We'll close the voting. And the motion does pass. We'll note one abstention.
Thank
So,
you.
Thank you, Craig, and I do appreciate you. You've had to step in for me in a time or two.
I have, and so far, we survived. And I really appreciate council support, and thank you very much.
Very good. Okay. Amanda,
Oh,
off my screen here.
Just say reschedule.
Mr. Mayor, on this next item on the agenda, I would make a motion.
Hold on just a second. I haven't, my screen went
popped up
blank.
again. Just change your time.
She's an ID.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And then I check one. And schedule restart. There you go. Ooh, close that. Good.
Sorry about that. I'm sorry that happened, actually, so.
I have two.
The,
Wasn't supposed to.
Right. So we're on agenda item number 16. Agenda item number 16 is the notice for regarding the notice for the closure for the Broadmoor Manufacturer Home Park. And the recommendation from our city attorney is that we go into closed session for a portion of this discussion. And then we will come out, when we come out of closed session, we will have a report out. So Craig, I interrupted you before you were.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to go into closed session pursuant to Minnesota statutes, section 13D.05, subdivision 3B, for an attorney-client protected discussion with the city's attorney regarding the threatened litigation by Shareholz and Associates in response to the city receipt of the Minnesota Attorney General's Office's objection to Broadmoor Valley closure statement.
That is a motion. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Seconded by C. Discussion? If not, we'll move to a vote. And we will close the voting. And the motion does pass. We will go into closed session. We don't anticipate this will be a lengthy closed session.
Correct that.
Do I need to know because it brought us back into it? Not yet.
We will reconvene. The council was in closed session. The purpose of the closed session was for attorney-client protected discussion regarding a notice that had been received on threatened litigation. I will ask our city attorney to kind of summarize the discussion at the closed session, and then the council then will have some potential actions that they will take.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. Just as we had, as a summary, the city had received a letter yesterday from Mr. Shearholz and Associates, their attorney, claiming that the AG letter that you saw in your packet that the city had received, actually been copied on, because the letter was sent to Shearholz and Associates last week, and we were copied on it last week. That said that the closure statement that Shearholz and Associates had sent to the city and the other entities that they're required to send it to was not actually a closure statement. It didn't constitute that lawfully. And so in response to that, we had put it on the agenda as in the packet, as I'm sure most of you had seen when the packet had come out yesterday. We received a letter from Shearholz and Associates attorney claiming that the AG was overreaching in denying Mr. Shearholz and Shearholz Associates their lawful rights by giving an opinion on the lawfulness of that closure statement. As a result of that, that is the reason that we had the closed session, because in that same letter, they had mentioned that there could be liability of the city for having a discussion about possibly canceling the public hearing, which was on our agenda tonight, that we would have liability to Shearholz and Associates. So based on that, we had the closed session. Just a couple things to note, and we had talked about this in the closed session. Chapter 327 of Minnesota statutes does not make the city responsible for determining the lawfulness of closure notices. That's not our role. That is the AG's role. That's very specifically laid out in Minnesota statutes, chapter 327. They are the enforcement mechanism. They are just coincidentally bringing a separate lawsuit. The lawsuit itself is not part of the decision of the lawfulness of the closure notice or not. And so the AG's office, as the enforcement mechanism, sent that letter to Shearholes and Associates that the closure notice was not lawful. We got copied on that. As part of that, the AG made it very clear in their letter, as you saw from the packet, that because of that, none of the process piece of this whole situation can start. The 12 months doesn't start. And so since that is not a lawful closure statement based on the AG, we as a council have the conversation that is necessary to decide our role as the process piece under the statute is, and the statute says, upon receipt of a closure statement, to set a date of public hearing. It doesn't say that we formally accept anything, that we make any decisions on the validity. We are a process cog in the wheel of making sure that a public hearing happens for the public. Since we have been told that no lawful closure statement exists yet, there is the conversation the council would have is whether that public hearing can actually happen or be scheduled, since we have not received what we need to receive to schedule the date of the public hearing. So that's where we're at, and that's what the discussion was during the closed session and explaining that fact situation. The 327C defines what a closure statement is. The AG has opined on missing information in the existing closure statement, that the content of it does not include number of units. It does not include any kind of estimate of cost. It's not just of other manufactured park home availabilities, but also affordable housing that might be available for some of the displaced residents. In the closure notice, the council will notice that the information provided is unknown, the word unknown. And so that is what the AG says is deficient about that and making it not a closure statement. So all that needs to happen is that information, we get an updated notice. So that's what the council really is waiting for. And the council receives an updated notice providing the information that the AG says needs to be in there. Then we would, once again, as we have done before, follow our duties under the statute to set a date of hearing. So that's an overview of how we got to where we're at right now. And so I'm open for any questions, if you all have any questions from
Thank you, Pam.
that.
And thank you for that detail. And, in broad overview is we took action to schedule a hearing on December 17th based on a notice that the Attorney General now says wasn't a valid notice. So the option would be to cancel that action, scheduling that public hearing. And then when we get a valid notice and a correct notice, then we'll schedule the hearing. So that would be one action, so.
And I'm in agreement with that. I think that, in my opinion, is the course that council should take, is to cancel the current scheduled public hearing in absence of a valid closure notice, and wait until there is a valid closure notice and accepted by the AG's office, and then proceed.
Any other opinions?
I would make that a motion.
I'd second that.
Motion by Craig, seconded by Amanda Schroeder to cancel the February 18th public hearing. Discussion on that motion. Pam, any other detail that you want included in the motion?
No, if you provide direction to staff to let Minnesota Housing know, I think they were planning to be there.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
Any other discussion on the motion? If not, we'll move to a vote. We'll close the voting. And the motion does pass. So we'll move on then to agenda item number 17, consider the approval of the joint powers agreement renewal with Marshall Public Schools. Sharon.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor and Council, this is an annual agreement between the City of Marshall and the Marshall School District. We've had this agreement for many, many years. The school district did approve this agreement in December of 2024. We did highlight for the council in the memo the revisions to the agreement. If there are any questions on those amendments or any general questions about our agreement with the school district or our programs or services, certainly we'll answer them. I do have Community Education Coordinator Jasmine DeSmet here and also our Park and Rec Superintendent Preston Stensrud. We have a great working relationship with the Marshall School District, and it's been a really good agreement and a good working relationship. So I will pause to see if there's any questions for staff.
Well, you may want to add, this agreement is unique in the state
Correct.
between the city and the school district where we
Yeah.
have this level of collaboration.
Yeah, we know of one other community that has a similar arrangement, which is Hutchinson. And so to our knowledge, there's two communities that have this collaborative approach to the services we provide.
Questions? If not, is there a motion to approve the renewal?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Amanda Schroeder, seconded by John. Discussion? If not, we'll move to a vote. And we'll close the voting. And the motion does pass. We'll note one abstention. Agenda item number 18, consider the resolution for the 2025 municipal state aid funds advance. This is for various projects, including the state aid overlay payments, the active transportation grant project, the C Street Southview Trail Improvement Project, the College Drive reconstruction, and the 4th Street culvert crossing fence replacement. Jason?
Thank you, Mayor. This is kind of a procedural item that we take care of at the first meeting in January every year, in recent years anyhow. Our municipal state aid street program provides us funding for selected city streets in our network. So when we do projects on those streets, we do have some state support for those projects. All the projects listed are proposed expenditures in 2025, where we would look to draw upon this account. Our account is a little over $1 million in the negative, meaning we've advanced funding. We've spent ahead of our allocation, and they do allow that. And it's not necessarily a discouraged practice. It is an allowable thing to do. So because we have an advanced account balance, we do need to do these requests whenever before we take the funds. So that's what we're doing here. We're lucky to consider approving the resolution to advance funds for these projects. The total disbursement amount would be estimated at $865,000. Our annual allocation right now is $918,000 for the construction account. I can answer any questions if we have them.
So just a little background. For cities over 5,000, we have designated streets that are state aid streets. So the state aid comes from gas tax. So that goes into a big fund that the Minnesota Department of Transportation has, and then they allocate those funds out. And those cities that have active projects likely are ones that would draw on this fund. And those cities that maybe don't have projects, they'll have a balance. So, Marshall has a I won't say aggressive, but we have a very planned project or a schedule of replacement. So that's why we're usually at what they call a deficit, but it's really meaning that we're doing projects that other communities aren't, so we're using more of that state aid fund. I don't know if I confused things by saying that or not.
Well, and I think, Mr. Mayor, along those lines is one of the advantages that we have is that we do operate with enterprise funds with our water, with
Yep.
utilities, with wastewater, and with our surface water funds, which also participate. So our projects through our public works has been very well managed in coordination with buried utility work that needs to happen. So as those priorities come, they help set our street priorities, and that's what keeps us moving forward and keeps the reliability of our systems. One of the efforts for new council members, maybe a little bit of back information, is in the past 30-plus years, we had a lot of basement backups during heavy precipits. And so the work that's been done with our storm sewer surface water program and with our sanitary sewer, getting infiltration and inflow out of there has been a big driver on our street projects. So it's a little bit alarming at first to say that we're $1 million advanced in our state aid highway fund, but that's actually a good thing.
Right.
So that's good sign of our projects moving on and that we're good project planners and facilitators.
Questions for Jason?
Thank you.
If not, I'd entertain a motion on the resolution for our municipal state aid funds advance.
I move the resolution.
Second.
Motion by Craig, seconded by John. Discussion? If not, we'll move to a vote. We'll close the voting. And the motion does pass. Agenda item number 19, authorization to advertise for the request for qualifications for airport consultant services for the 5-year CIP items at the airport. Once again, Jason.
Thank you. This is another somewhat procedural item. We are required by the FFA to do competitive consultant selections for engineering support on capital projects. They do have this process where you can select for a 5-year period of time as opposed to going out for solicitation on every single project as it comes up. There's many benefits to this. It allows us to have continuity in our support, an engineer that knows our airport very well and can help us plan well in advance. So we have used TKDA in recent years, and I think for probably many, many years, Mayor. You probably know better than I there. But we do want to go out for qualifications where we advertise to other firms that if they'd like to submit a proposal, they may. We have a grading criteria set up in the RFQ. We did meet with the Airport Commission on January 7th to discuss, and we established at that Airport Commission meeting a proposal review committee consisting of myself, Dean Kudrin, to represent staff, Ron Helgerson and Quentin Fixon to represent the airport, and Craig Schaefer as council liaison to the airport. So that is what we'd propose to do. We're going to ask that proposals be submitted back by January 31st.
Okay. Questions? Anything from the Airport Commission you want to add?
Actually, Mr. Mayor, I missed that meeting, but we were in conversation prior, and then Jason did update me also before the meeting on the results from the Airport Commission meeting, so
Okay. Questions? If not, is there a motion?
I so move.
Motion by Craig. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by C. Discussion? If not, we'll move to a vote. We'll close the voting. And the motion passes. Agenda item number 20 is the 2024 project on South Whitney Street reconstruction, East College Drive to Jean Avenue. We have a change order, the final change order to consider, as well as the acknowledgement of the final pay request. Any detail you want to add, Jason?
No, I think this memo covers it. I would just point out that we'll talk about this project one more time when we come back for an assessment hearing.
Okay. I would entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, before that, I just would like to comment because Councilmember Meister is no longer here. It's good to note that this did come $5,853.23 under the projected amount.
Very good.
On the final pay.
On the final pay.
But the total contract is slightly over budget, I'll point out. I don't want to misrepresent that. There was some work around trees, you may remember, on the contract.
Right, but that was in order to keep Councilmember Lozinski happy that we weren't butchering up trees.
Him and others, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, with that, I would entertain a motion.
I so move.
Motion by Craig. Seconded by C. Discussion? If not, we'll move to a vote. I'll close the voting. And the motion passes. Okay, we'll move then to agenda item number 21, Commission Board Liaison Reports. C, let's start with your, no, we'll start with Craig. For
Actually, the only business that we had was managed with the airport.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Amanda, you get a pass this time on commission reports. So the other Amanda.
I have nothing yet.
The Southwest Regional Development Commission had their monthly meeting this past Thursday evening. Much like some of the things we did tonight, it was organizational. Beginning of the year, there's some new commissioners that are on that based on the elections that have happened. John?
Community housing met yesterday, pretty uneventful.
And C.
DEI met right before the holidays, and we had submitted a letter to the editor. We kind of echoed something that Mankato did for their community after the election. So this is just kind of to let our community know that we are still going to continue to bring efforts into equity work that we are doing around the city here. And then we are also going to be looking into a different consensus decision maker besides using the Roberts rule in our committee. And we thought maybe that might help draw more people in if we do something that's a little less intimidating, because Roberts rule is very intimidating for some people. So, and then CVB just met last week. There's been a lot of increased Red Baron bookings, a lot of graduations and anniversaries happening over there. So that's exciting. And then they have started interviews for a new intern for the spring, summer here. So that's all I have.
We'll move then to council member individual items. C.
I don't have anything.
John? No. Craig?
No, I don't have anything, Mr. Mayor.
Amanda?
I don't have anything.
Amanda, special, yeah.
Ms. May,
First Amanda.
Oh, it was you.
Thought it was in order.
Number two.
Well, I think the council should say, welcome, you received your
Yes.
oath of office earlier this evening, 39 years ago. I did my first oath of office, and so we look forward to a long tenure for you on serving the city.
Thank you.
39 years, he still looks in relatively good shape, so this isn't real hard.
Big shoes to fill.
And Amanda.
I have nothing.
I have a couple things. First off, I'm going to pass something out. Typically at the beginning of the year, I lay out some projects, some goals that I think are important. And normally I have done like the top 10 list, but this year I have really tried to align it with our strategic plan. Because we just adopted the strategic plan, and if members of the audience want a copy of it, I think Stephen has some copies too. So we have a very good and well thought out and strategic plan, and so I organized by objectives in our strategic plan. And there's more objectives than the ones that I've listed here, but some of those objectives really have to do with things that we're going to do, things that are internal. These are objectives that really relate to kind of larger projects that will demand attention. So I'll go through these kind of individually. Of course, the first objective really has to do with our quality of life, our quality park systems, our amenities. And under there, we have a number of things that are important. Obviously, the aquatic center, the authorization for bidding that will come out, and hopefully the award of the bid and the beginning of the construction, that will be a priority for the community. Also, to start planning for a comprehensive park plan, which we don't currently have. We have a comprehensive plan, we have a strategic plan, but we also really are in need of a comprehensive park plan. So that would guide the city as we really look for investments in the future, look for funding sources in the future to support some of those investments. The band shell replacement funding earlier in, late last year, we engaged the Flaherty and Hood Services, specifically Marty Seifert, to work with our legislators to access legacy funding that would be available. And hopefully that, if that would be accomplished, that could work with band shell replacement. With Emerald Ash Borer management, Emerald Ash Borer, of course, is with us, but we're in the management, and, to date, we probably have removed maybe 200 trees on public ways and in parks. Preston, you can correct me on that number, and we've replaced those probably with 400 trees, or will replace those. But it's an ongoing. We still have several thousand, and this is going to really be a fairly dramatic change in the community. And then also, the final thing I have under that objective is the Independence Park Pavilion, which we already have awarded the contract for that, the materials, but that construction replacement would happen this year. That's really a safety issue for Independence Park. Under our objective that addresses infrastructure, obviously Highway 19 reconstruction, it will be a 2-year project. That will be a disruptive and massive project. We benefited from the federal RAISE grant of $15.5 million that has helped our local as well as MnDOT cost participation, but it's still a big project, and it'll be a big change. We already talked earlier about the Charles Hill Street, Minnesota Street reconstruction. We actually took action earlier this evening. And then the Legion Field Stormwater Phase 3 project. And I highlight that because that, in my mind, is one of those final stormwater flood control, local flooding issue projects. And this will be really complete efforts that really started 30-plus years ago. Under our safety and secure communities, we have some time ago, in 2023, awarded the bids for the aerial apparatus, the ladder truck, for the fire department. It's a major investment. So we have a major investment in public safety. That's in excess of $1.5 million. But it's important for the community. It's important for our Marshall Fire Department, and we invest in that. We have probably the highest contribution to the retirement fund of any city in the state, and that's a good thing. That's an incentive for people to join and stay with our department to provide the public safety service. We also have a request on the Merit Center bonding that Marty Seifert is also helping us with that, but also our public safety department to get the additional investment at the Merit Center, as that really serves as a regional training center for not only public safety, but for private use also. Whether or not there will be a bonding bill, whether or not there'll be a successful legislative session, that's out of our control, but we have to try. We have an objective about the regional center for Southwest Minnesota for employment and for retail activity, and we continue to have, through our EDA, have kind of active prospects for investment in the community. We have additional retail development that will see specifically the Marshalls, the reuse of the old Shopko building. Signage went up yesterday or over the weekend and today, and there'll be other things that will happen there. And we also still have the need for the hotel development near the Red Baron Arena. I know our EDA is still actively working with that. And then finally, our objective that has to do with workforce housing, as well as daycare. The Broadmoor Valley, we've had discussion about that. That's important for workforce housing. Or an alternative needs to be found for workforce housing, for affordable housing. And that may also include in our EDA, hopefully we'll have additional discussion about this for additional assistance for home buyer purchase. I think the goal would be, hopefully quality housing, if it's affordable housing or market rate housing, but ultimately encouraging the movement from the market rate rental housing into home ownership for stability in the community. So that's more than 10. In fact, it's 16 this year. So, but I'd offer that to the council as far as, what I see as important issues for this coming year. With that, we'll move on then to staff reports. Sharon?
Just that I did include an update on progress on our strategic plan in the information section of the packet. And that's all I had, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Jason
Nothing to report tonight.
and Pam.
Nothing to report.
So you have the remainder of the agenda items, the administrator briefs, again, the copy of the strategic plan action update, and the listing of building permits and the listing of upcoming meetings. Is there anything else to come forward at this meeting this evening? If not, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I motion.
Motion by Amanda Schwartz, seconded by C to adjourn. Discussion on the motion? If not, we'll move to a vote. We'll close the voting. The motion passes. We are adjourned.